I don't know about you, but these guys over here don't seem too grateful for all the support that we gave them.
Trump, Musk, Vance, Rubio, Rem.
Yep, and then they light it on fire in a weird way of saying, hey, thanks for helping us. As the situation between the United States and Europe just got a lot more tumultuous and divisive. All of this, as it definitely does look like there's a concerted effort to try to derail the peace deals and to continue this slaughter of young Slavic men. Truly, what's happening right now is just crazy as Europe is preparing for the worst, literally telling their citizens, just make sure you have supplies in case all ish breaks loose. As of course, this is what we have been seeing ramping up to this very key moment in time right now that I think is worth examining and talking about from an honest, real perspective. And as a Polish person myself, I have my sources from Europe. I have my sources from within different branches of people who know what's going on. I'll just leave it at that, okay? And they are very concerned here as I got the warnings. Hey, all hell is probably going to be breaking loose in Europe. And that's exactly what Europe is preparing for. This coincides with some of the information that I've been getting, that I've been telling people about within the last few weeks, as now the European Union is urging its citizens to stockpile food in the face of war. Brussels has unveiled a 30-point crisis plan urging Europeans to prepare for emergencies in their rising fears of, quote, Russian aggression. Aggression here goes both ways, has always gone both ways for a very long time, ever since 2014, even before then, when USAID was involved with the CIA, with John McCain, with other neocons, specifically making sure that Ukraine was going to change its sphere of influence away from the Ruskies and more towards the West. And then we saw a bunch of politicians and their children get a lot of lucrative contracts. As Ukraine gave away their territory, they said, hey, you want to do some biolab research in our country? Pay us off a little bit. You can do whatever you want. As Ukraine, even before this conflict started, represented one of the most corrupted countries on earth. And now, because of the situation that they have been hoodwinked into, that they are forced into, that they are being pushed into, now they are worried about this conflict spilling over into Europe to the point where the European Union is telling all of its citizens that Russia could strike within the next 3 to 5 years, and you need to have a stockpile of critical gear, including ways to make sure that you could take care of yourself, make sure that you could communicate with people, as now the EU has issued and created a new crisis hub for rapid disaster response, as they are making sure that they are going to secure their infrastructure. As now, a lot of Bilderberg members seem to be the ones kind of escalating the temperature in the room, specifically with everything that is unfolding here. We have another article by the Daily Mail. EU urges all citizens to prepare for war. And we have seen individual countries do similar things. We have seen France do this last week, where they were urging every household to prepare. They were issuing a manual. Poland, before that, was also issuing very similar warnings. And then a couple months ago, the Germans were also telling their countrymen to prepare for the worst possible outcome to unfold with Russia. As it looks like history is definitely rhyming and repeating, just like it did in the 1920s and the 1930s. Over a decade ago. It's kind of weird how history just kind of has a weird way of being cyclical. We'll get into that in just a little bit here, but The Sun here has an article that reads, War Footing, Survival Guides, Mass Evacuations, Huge Bunkers and Conscription, How the Whole of Europe is Preparing for World War III. And it is pretty severe. Poland is going to be training every male under the age of 65 how to be a part of its military. This, as article after article highlights, yep, they are preparing for the worst possible situation. And what did you expect to happen here? As just recently, the United States government came out and said, yes, we had a major deal just made between the Russians and Ukrainians that have agreed to a sea and energy truce, saying that the fighting is going to stop in particular theaters inside of that larger proxy conflict that's happening between them. Specifically saying, okay, we're going to make sure there's going to be trade in the Baltic Sea. We're going to stop the fighting in the Baltic Sea. Huge achievement, as now there's rumors of Washington seeking the easing of sanctions against Russia, a part of this deal, to stop this war from moving forward. And what did the Europeans do in response to this news? They just announced that they're not going to be relieving any sanctions at all until there's a, quote, full military withdrawal from Ukraine by the Russians, which they know is not going to happen. The first ceasefire deal that was kind of derailed here had a specific stipulation saying we're not going to target each other's energy infrastructure. The Ukrainians then decided to directly go after the Russian energy infrastructure, going after the main gas pipeline that goes from Russia into Europe, exploding that, attacking that. The Ukrainians said it was some kind of false flag attack, just like they did the Nord Stream pipeline. And they say, well, we needed to go after their infrastructure, the one specific stipulation for the ceasefire, because the Russians went after our hospital. And again, that again was another major move that tried to derail peace here, as the Europeans are doing it once again. Before getting into this and how this will unfold and how all of this will kind of go, we want to tell you about the bestpoliticalshirts.com. Where we got truly some of the best shirts out there. We got a lot of anti-war shirts. Being anti-war has been a strong guiding principle for me for an extremely long time. I think this shirt here, when you type in war, you're able to find these shirts that we have available to you. I think this shirt here that says truth is the first casualty of war really hits the nail on the head. We got another one called the reality of war, which is perfectly represented here. But I think the best one is the shirt that I'm wearing right now, that highlights where we are in the dystopian Venn diagram. Oh, Kamala Harris loves those Venn diagrams. Well, we got a great one for her, as we got 1984, Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451. It's definitely the same. We're definitely coalescing in that. You want to find that shirt? You type in dystopia right here into the top of the bestpoliticalshirts.com, and you're able to get the shirt. This was one of our first kind of major game-changing shirts that really made us understand that we're in the right business. We're in a good business, because this shirt sold like hotcakes, especially when it first came out. And a lot of people resonate with this. A lot of people who are high IQ that you want to meet, that you want to get to know, will recognize your shirt, will probably give you a thumbs up or like, oh, that's a cool shirt. I can't understate how much that happens. There's such a kind of wanting and needing for human connection. And a lot of us don't have that because of this fake online digital world where everything is just frickin' a fungazi. Everything is just fake out there. But when you're in the real world, when you get to meet real people and have common shared values, that right there is a beautiful thing in life that our shirts spur on. And I had amazing moments just by wearing these shirts. So get them on the bestpoliticalshirts.com. Click the link down in the description below before all hell breaks loose and there could be a larger, bigger war inside of Europe that could unfold here. Now, will there? I think I understand the strategy here of Europe, and that is trying to make sure that the Americans do all the fighting for them. Again, the Europeans have to choose between a welfare state and a warfare state. They're always going to choose their welfare. They're liberals, they're commies, they're lefties. They're the ones that they're the soy boys. They're the ones with the limp wrist right there. And they're like, protect me, America. America's like, the hell? Why should we? Why? Why is it our business? And the soy boys, but it is. You're so bad. Trump's bad. He's not protecting it. And Trump's like, stop starting ish every step of the way here. Trump's like, okay, Ukraine, you need to come to the negotiation table. Ukraine's like, no, need. And that's Zelensky. That's my interpretation. No. Okay, Trump's like, I'm going to cut aid. Okay, and then as the Ukrainians like, okay, the Europeans come in saying, no, don't worry, we'll give you aid. We'll give you all the military aid at a loan, at a good percentage in interest rate. every step of the way, the Europeans, including now, saying, yeah, Trump, you're negotiating getting rid of sanctions. We're not going to get rid of sanctions. We're going to derail these negotiations. And the European Union made it very clear. No, all Russian influence, military, needs to be out of those specific territories that the Russians have now claimed as theirs. Now, there are also a lot of Russian-speaking and Russian-aligned individuals living in those specific regions, those 4 sections that the Russians are now claiming are theirs. Now, who's one of the biggest kind of cheerleaders for this? Kaya Kallas. She is, as political rights, acting like a prime minister, as critics of EU top diplomats say. She's the one going after Donald Trump and going after Russia. She's also a Bilderberg member. And when we look at the European Union and we look at the president of the European Union, all Bilderberg globalists that have secret meetings with the military-industrial complex, with the intelligence agencies, with the corporate media once a year in secret locations where they discuss their plans that now include subverting Donald Trump's peace plans here. Now, Donald Trump has been very outspoken throughout all of this, as he has previously even said, hey, it's kind of crazy how we're subsidizing everything that is happening in the region, and all we're getting is flack, criticism, and being attacked for trying to bring peace into the world here. I think Trump's statements here were really on point.
Dream, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance, the Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
Do you really want me to answer? Yeah, I think they've been freeloading. The European Union's been absolutely terrible to us on trade. Terrible. And as you know, NATO, I got them to pay hundreds of billions of dollars. They were way behind. And if you look if you look at Ukraine, so we're in for $350 billion because of Biden. Should have never happened, this war. All these dead people should not be dead. All these broken cities that are demolished down to the ground, those gorgeous towers, the most beautiful in the world, the most beautiful spires in the world. The spires in Ukraine were said to be the most beautiful of all. Just about every one of them is lying on its side in a million pieces. It's so sad to see what's happened to a heritage.
Yep, it's very sad, as the people of Ukraine are paying the ultimate price here. Now, there are some countries that are saying, we'll invest a lot into our defense, but they're extremely small countries. Countries that geopolitical strategists would argue don't have the manpower, don't have the amount of people to make a significant difference here. As Lithuania just had NATO drills on the border of Russia, which Russia doesn't like. 4 soldiers were found to have lost their life during these trainings, as Lithuania has also announced record military spending in NATO, as they're raising their military budget from 3.9% of their GDP to 5.25%, and they're going to be doing it this specific year. Now, a lot of what's happening here is very worrisome, specifically with the hyperbolic, very tough rhetoric from the Europeans that, again, are talking a big game, but they don't and can't really back it up here, as the Independent reports that there are ballistic missile interceptors, pamphlets dropping in France, and Europe is preparing for a nuclear war. Again, nuclear war means the end of the world. This is sociopathic, this is insane, and us being brought closer to this because of these kind of European, crazy, insane mindsets. Again, the leftist mindset, the communist, socialistic mindset is a mindset of destruction. And that's exactly what happens during their government, during their regimes, during their control, and that's exactly where they are headed. As the Wall Street Journal specifically reports how the Europeans are calling for a nuclear umbrella. This first started with France saying, we got some advanced nuclear subs. You know what? Now, it's not just us having it. The rest of Europe's going to have it too. And now Poland has been recently asking, saying, hey, Trump, give us some nuclear weapons. Trump's like, hell no. And France is like, we'll give it to you. Again, once again, Europe is there as a thorn in Donald Trump's foot, in Donald Trump's efforts, subverting him every step of the way. As the Financial Times here has really kind of refreshing our, shocking article here saying from Berlin to Tokyo, the fears of a new nuclear arms race. Yeah. Donald Trump has a mandate. Donald Trump, in his first administration and now in his second administration, he's being a little bit more outspoken about this. He's specifically talking about getting rid of all nuclear weapons on the face of this earth, not just from the United States, but from Russia, from China, from the Brits, from the French, from the Israelis, from the probably Saudi Arabia, the Iranians. That's still a big question here. But Donald Trump is pushing for worldwide denuclearization. That's also a part of these peace talks. For the military-industrial complex, for the warmongers out there, for the people worshiping Satan and talking to these interdimensional beings and creatures that, of course, they serve and try to create human sacrifice for, that's not good news. That's not good business. They don't like that. They don't want that to happen. They want peace. Want some peace? Want to relax? Want to chill out? No! We want death and destruction. That's the message the European leaders are sending to the rest of the world as they destroy free speech. They destroy people's ability to express themselves politically. They destroy any kind of other political ideology that isn't worshiping their neoliberal gods and woke ethos. We have seen a continent that has been hijacked and is directly at odds with the United States. We saw top leaders. We saw the U.S. government be like, okay, guys, let's try to get along with each other. Let's try to align ourselves on our viewpoints, on how we respect human rights, on how we allow political expression, on how we allow free speech. The Europeans doubled down and said, no, we're going to arrest more people for memes now because that's just what we do here. Clearly, I think if there's a way to kind of describe what's happening right now, it's the Europeans saying, America, go do our fighting for us. America's done with that. America's saying, why? Again, how does this serve us? Because there is another possibility here where you get rid of the sanctions. You allow energy to kind of be let loose. You allow the economy to be healed. You allow trade to commence here. You allow natural resources, rare earth minerals to be built here, and you allow humanity to come together. But there are a concerted effort to prevent that from happening. The biggest victims of it are the people of Ukraine. Pray for them because they're dealing with a huge tug of war that's happening between them right now. But the tug of war has shifted, and it's the Europeans and warmongers and demons saying, fight, go, blah, blah. And now Trump is trying to pull the other way, saying, guys, stop it. You need to make some concessions here. Europeans doubling down again. No concessions. No easing up on sanctions. This is what. And how do you deal with that situation if you're Donald Trump? Let me know. If you're Donald Trump, what do you do right now? Because this is a very peculiar situation. And as we told you, hey, the peace deals, great idea, great initiative. But if it fails, expect all hell to break loose. It has historically, the way it just cycles again. Man, that is terrifying. Look what happened in, the first world conflict that spurred on a second world conflict. Some people would argue we're going through those same exact type of periods, which is insane. War is stupid. If you agree, share this video. Get a shirt and support this independent media broadcast at the same time. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.